technical difficulties, but breakfast I thought was good.
No difficulties there. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 5th annual Symposium. It's hard to believe that we're already half a decade into this. Thank you, George.
Isn't it too early for our first slow clap?
Yes. It's never too early. I'm Dan Powers. I'm the current president and general manager.
And I'm Jared Feldman. I'm the assistant general manager / vice president, staff and facilities. Is that what? It's a long title. I have no idea what it means. I do this.
Assistant general manager is what it means.
All right. So yeah, 5th annual symposium. We have a theme in theory, and that's generally guiding VBR into the new millennium. Now, obviously, we are in the new millennium already, but I don't feel like VBR is into it as far as it could be. So that's what we're working for in this symposium, is bringing us further into the new millennium. I guess should have been the title that I used up there.
And Symposium, as always, is a way for us to engage alumni and to bring about a dialogue and a discussion that we don't typically get to work with. You know, that we have this mentality of there's all of these student staff that there's turnover every year, and so we don't get the accumulated knowledge of everybody that's come before us. But at events like this, we can actually get people who were there in 1968 when we became a rock station all the way up until the present. And I think that that's of tremendous value, and it's something that we don't get to see every day. So we'd like to really engage you all in a discussion as much as we can this weekend about how we can use the web better, and how we can, there's perennial questions that come up for VBR, and I think those are ones that we have to address yearly. So it's important that those come up again. For example, positioning ourselves relative to Ithaca or positioning ourselves relative to Cornell. There's possibly no magic rule there, and that's something that we always have to make sure that we keep in mind and keep relevant. So I'd like you guys to keep that in mind this weekend.
And if we found that magic rule, we'd be doing even better. So just do a quick year in review. Big thing we did dating back to, I guess, it was just beginning, I think, during the last symposium, was our 40 years of rock promotion.
And that's
what was that, Dan? Because you're in programming.
Okay. That celebrated 4 decades of being a rock station. We signed on in 1968 as an FM rock station, and we're one of the more progressive stations in central New York and really on the East Coast for some of the music that we played. We've been going strong ever since, and that was something that we thought was relevant to Ithaca, especially with some of our core fan base. So we gave away a huge stereo package from Stellar Stereo and made a big deal out of this, and I think that was another way to remind people that we are Ithaca, that we are a community radio station, that we're one of the only local radio stations really of this kind. So that's something that we've got to remind people of constantly.
And we're real rock radio, which is important as well. Cornell Athletics, this is kind of half what we have done, what we're going to be doing this year. Last year we broadcasted a series of the Cornell women's basketball games. This year we're very excited because we're actually going to be the lead and exclusive broadcaster of Cornell men's basketball, which we haven't had since the mid-90s. So this is kind of a big step in being more Cornell-centric and kind of jumping on the popular basketball bandwagon.
And it's giving us an opportunity to rebrand ourselves as the voice of the Big Red, and if you'll recall, that's what our call letters originally stood for. We were an AM carrier current station.
Well, not the W, but that's just because we're on the East Coast, we have to do that.
Correct.
The big thing we did last spring, of course, was University of Rock, which was, well, okay, Dan, explain this one, because again, I didn't understand it either. But
the first reality radio program, conceived by Ryan McGuire and executed by a team consisting of a number of different people at the station, a few of which are here, Kara and Andrew in particular. And this was a competition that tried to engage the Cornell community. So we picked out 3 Cornell University bands out of 12 that auditioned, actually, and stumbled upon this great music scene that's embedded within the university, within that community. And we often, we feel, or at least I feel, that the Cornell community tends to be disjointed and kind of hard to bring together. So this was our way of trying to seek out these niches of people who said, hey, these are my friends and they're a band. And it ended up being tremendously successful. We had thousands of votes every week on a number of different challenges, ranging from the zany writing a song about a college town bagel sandwich to something a little bit more traditional, playing in an atypical location. Everything that we tried to do tried to position us as a unique center for Cornell activity, a hub for new music. And that's something which we'll bring back again this year in the spring, and hopefully sponsoring and actually monetizing this.
Because money is good. Quick run through schedule events. Obviously, we're a little behind schedule. We will hopefully catch up, but we also allowed the schedule to have some flexibility. First up, we're going to have Bob Ballin, who's going to give a presentation on web advertising. I looked through it last night. It's going to be awesome, I have a feeling. Is it, Bob?
Why don't we take a vote when it's over?
Okay, that's good. We'll do that. And then we're going to have our first kind of group discussion activity where we're going to talk about monetizing our website, which I'll explain more when we actually get to that. we're going to have a presentation at 1 o'clock by Vin Crosby, who's a professor at Syracuse University in the Communication School. That should be very, very, very insightful, especially to us, sales and the web, which what we're all here about. And then we'll have Pat Lyons who give us another presentation on digital age and content. Thank you for that, Pat, in advance. And then, what was this one?
The marketing project. We'll be breaking up into groups again for a discussion-based activity. This one will focus on marketing and its relevance to programming and how we can tie those two together.
And then, of course, at 5 o'clock, we're going to have our dedication of the transmitter facilities. And the weather looks very good right now, so hopefully that'll hold up so we can actually go up to the transmitter and kind of do it in person.
Just a preliminary note about that. There's a good chance that Kevin and I will drive up beforehand to make sure that nothing is too wet or muddy still. We don't want to take anybody out there in their Sunday best. But that said, if we do have to go somewhere else, we'll go to the station. And I'd like you all to save any stories that you might have for the transmitter dedication. I'd like to have a really great atmosphere where we can talk about John and maybe see things that remind us of his presence at WVBR.
And then after that, we'll go to dinner at the East Shore Cafe. Should be a lovely meal. And then tomorrow, I guess tonight actually, we also have the alumni takeover.
Official alumni.
Take two.
Although the young alums did something last night, which was a great deal of fun.
Thank you, Raymond.
And then tomorrow we're going to have, unfortunately don't have this dedication of the stuff to the archives.
Yes.
And then also management exercise and a board of directors meeting, which will be very thrilling.
Without any further ado, we'd like to touch on one more very important change that's happened at the station this past year. In April, we began the search for a new sales manager, and a few months later, we stumbled upon a really great candidate, a number of discussions that Steve Marks and Michael Greenberg, myself, and many others on the board and on past execs had. We came to the conclusion that Eric Lindstrom was the right fit. So Eric would like to introduce himself briefly right now.
Thank you very much, Dan. Good morning. Bobby, you might want to get your stuff ready while I'm talking. I'm going to be very brief. Obviously, we're behind schedule a little bit. I actually produced a